Developing branch structure on a deciduous tree is basically a very simple process. What we need is a branch that forks from 1 into 2 into 4 and so on. And generally at each fork the branch should get a little thinner. So I bought this piece of oak so I can show you this basic development process. And what we're looking for, as I say, is progressively decreasing forks. And this works for all deciduous trees. So you can see here we've got this initial branch, and then we've got this initial fork, which in this case has grown very naturally. Here you can see a position whereby we've got 1 that then becomes 3. What we want to do there is remove this one, then we can shorten here and here. So you can see that we've got 1 that then becomes 2 at that point. If we then take that same process across the rest of this branch, where we've got 3, the reason we don't want 3 at one point as we had here is that 3 branches coming from one point will create thickness, and that over time that will become like an ugly ball of wood, which will look really not very pretty in the winter. The reason for doing this structuring process with deciduous trees is that so over the winter we get a very attractive nice branchy twiggy silhouette with very good nicely tapered ramification. So we can basically go through this, prune this down like so, and as you can hopefully see from that, we've got 1 that becomes 2, and those 2 become 4, and then those 4 become 8, and then on the end of that we get 16 and so on, and we keep on building up this structure of 2 by 2 by 2. And generally when we're dealing with this type of tree, we start from the inner end of the branch and progressively move outwards. Invariably there are going to be 1 or 2 old sort of pruning stubs, bits and pieces that are left behind, a few dead branches that have been shaded out, which we can get rid of. Often there are small adventitious shoots that are throwing up from junctions which start to create knuckles and get quite thick. And then we come from this primary branch onto this secondary branch, and then that's where we can start to reduce some of this fine twigging. Where we go from this secondary branching onto this small ramification on the ends, what we're looking to do is prune this to shorten it back. You can see here we've got lots of very thin spindly branches that we really don't want. So it's just a matter of looking through each individual branch and then pruning back where we can. You can see here we've got 1 that then forks into 2, and then we've got 2 on the end of that. So that's really what we're looking to try and achieve. And at every opportunity where we can prune, we want to try and get a change of direction. So again, here you can see this branch, these little twigs have got quite long, so in this case we can prune so and so, and you can see that that forking is getting progressively smaller and tighter, and we've already shortened that back by 2 or 3 inches. Pruning for direction is something we can use with deciduous trees to great advantage. It's something that's not so easily achieved on evergreen material, but here you can see this branch or this twig which is relatively straight throughout. Now it's got some nice side branches, but as you can see overall it's quite straight, and also this part of the twig is going into the part next to it and is interfering with it. So what we can basically do is go in and just prune that away, and you can see that straight away giving us a change of direction. So we've taken that one, here we've created that little fork, and then we can just take the other 2 parts, so and so, and there you can see we've created a change of direction, and we've also reduced the size of that fork. Using this process enables us to get the branches growing in the direction that we want, and it also enables us to get that very nice tight ramification that we're looking for. A lot of the pruning I've done here is directional, so we've pruned the branches growing in the direction that we want, and also everything that's coming up, because one of the most important things about the structure of a deciduous tree is that everything comes up and then out towards the light. It's a little different from the way that we structure evergreens, where we often bring a branch down and then the foliage comes out. But the primary branch lines, it's important on these trees that they come up and out, and then subsequently, as we're pruning all the little twigs that come out, we want to keep all the ones on the top and remove everything from underneath. This is important because it allows light to get into the lower branches. So you can see, rather than pruning pads, we've got lots of spaces in here where the light can get in from the side. We've pruned quite a lot from the top. Obviously, a deciduous tree, the top grows much more strongly than the lower branches, so you can be a little more severe. It's now been a couple of weeks since I finished the pruning of this tree, and since that time I've had a chance to change my shirt, and the tree's had a chance to grow some new leaves. At this point you can see the difference in the growth rate of various shoots on this tree. We've got this long one here which has got 10 or 12 leaves on it. We've got this little one behind here which has only got 4. So what we're looking to do is to prune these to try and balance the strength of each individual shoot. So where we've got a long one like this, we're pretty much looking for 3 leaves on that one. This slightly weaker one we can take back. These very short ones here, we've still got 4 or 5 leaves. So generally you're looking for pruning these back to either 2 or 3 leaves. Another thing to bear in mind with the bonsai at this stage is that, of course, the top of the tree is always going to be more vigorous than the lower branches. So when we come to this pruning, in order to balance the strength of the plant overall, we're looking at potentially pruning much harder in the apex of the tree where we are here, as opposed to the way that we would prune on the lower branches. The best way to achieve that basically is to prune the upper parts, the very stronger ones, potentially even to 1 leaf or to 1 node, and then the lower branches potentially we leave 2, 3, sometimes on the weakest ones even 4 leaves. And over a period of time that helps to balance the vigor, the strength and the growth of the tree, so we get nice even ramification right the way through the tree, as opposed to a lot of strength at the top and some very weak branches that are prone to die back on the lower part.